We've heard a lot about the charging points and the building upgrades. I'd like to hear if there's anyone else that has some thoughts about the utility upgrades that we'll need, as well as the safety as it relates to the electric vehicle. So, John? Albert.
Thank you, David and panel, for a very interesting discussion so far from all sides. As David said, we do have some experts in the room. Before we open it up to an open discussion, I'd like to call on Edmund Lung for a local Hong Kong perspective. Edmund?
Thank you, John. Before I start, I have to say that although my capacity today is chairman of the Hong Kong Government's Energy Advisory Committee, whatever I say represents myself only and not the committee, because this has not been discussed with them. So having made this disclaimer, I speak as an engineer. Electric vehicles is here to stay. Whether we like it or not, we will be driving electric vehicles in the next generation. I won't be, but you will be. So the important thing about it is we have to get the infrastructure in place. John mentioned about safety. Safety, I don't think is an issue because we've used all sorts of electrical appliances and there are established safety standards in Hong Kong. In terms of utilities infrastructure, we're only talking about medium voltage, low voltage. So again, I do not see any problems. If I'm allowed to state my own case, I think the issue is more about range. Manufacturers say you can run an EV vehicle over 100 kilometers in a day before recharging. And what they're referring to is long distance. I'm sure when you drive, you understand fuel consumption between driving urban and driving in the country. And in Hong Kong especially, you have air conditioning, you use power steering. These are consumers of electricity, so they get a sort of downgrade with that. The important thing is to make sure that the future generation of EVs would have a longer range. I think 200 kilometers is probably the minimum that we can use in Hong Kong. That's all I'd like to say at the moment.
Thank you, Edmund. And I'd like to call on for some international perspective, Jerry Peachman from the city of Toronto. Jerry, is Jerry in the room? Jerry, there's a microphone there.
Hi. Okay, for City of Toronto, North America, we're just starting out on the road for electric vehicle, especially the infrastructure. Presently, we're working on a committee with all divisions within the city and our power supplier to put in the regulations to make it easy for the manufacturers and the homeowners to get electric charging stations. At the present, we have agreements with Nissan, Mitsubishi, in that to obtain vehicles next year. But at the present, we don't have any electric vehicles within the city, although we do have coming now the Prius plug-in this month will be the first one that we will be using as electric. So that's about it. Our main goal at this point is to get the legislation in place, to have bylaws in place to make it easy for residents to install charging stations. Thank you.
And I think we also have some comments from Albert Lam from Detroit Electric of some the vehicles being introduced.
Actually, I was just going to ask a question instead of making a comment. Actually, I would like to ask, in terms of the infrastructure part of it, is charging. And is there any thoughts in Hong Kong given to renewable energy? Because we're headquartered in Netherlands as well. They are putting a lot of efforts in constructing renewable energy, wind farm, solar farm. And that's an important part, as I see, in the future of electric cars as well, because I see electric cars in terms of battery will progress very quickly. And after 5 years, as we introduce our cars, Nissan introduced their cars, there are batteries that still have a longer lifespan, which is up to about 10 years. So what you're going to do with all this battery, where technological advancement has made them redundant, but from the technological point of view, they are still good for retaining storage of energy. So what Netherlands is doing is that they are already building wind farms and to storage of all this kind of wind power at night, so that it can feed the grid in the and their aim is to turn off some of their coal power station in the future by using all this battery bank. So I don't know what Hong Kong has any kind of thoughts in this area, or any other city has thoughts in this kind of areas.
I think you are talking about an issue not relating to EV, right? You're talking about the bigger picture of fuel mix in Hong Kong for power generation. This morning there's a protest outside, the conference room, the convention center. Renewable energy in Hong Kong, if you ask me, the government's policy is clear. We're actively promoting because renewable energy is a clean fuel source. It doesn't emit, it doesn't cause air pollution. It doesn't emit carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases. But the limitations in Hong Kong is that because of the physical constraints, geographical constraints, we are not expecting that we could make a lot use of it. Actually, we just put out a consultation document, Hong Kong's climate change strategy and action agenda. There's a whole chapter on the supply side. The proposal is that by the year 2020, we're expecting a slight increase in the use of renewable energy for power generation. That would take up about 3 to 4%, basically from two sources. One is wind farms. The two power companies are now exploring the feasibility of building wind farms, offshore wind farms, in the waters, of Hong Kong. I think they are talking about 100, wind turbines. If these projects go ahead, we're expecting that they will be supporting about 2% of the electricity consumption in Hong Kong. And for the other 2%, we're expecting energy from waste treatment. It's a hot topic in Hong Kong. The landfills are not sustainable. That's why we are proposing that in the near future, perhaps we will have to go for state-of-art incineration facilities. This is called the integrated waste treatment, waste management facilities. But basically, they're incinerators. We would like to capture the heat, generated during the treatment, the waste treatment, for electricity generation. But probably, one such facility would probably provide about 2% of Hong Kong's energy consumption. So that's our plan. But of course, if there is breakthrough in technology, as I said, the policy is we would go as far as we can, provided, of course, it is economically viable. Because just for the wind farms, even for the wind farms, we're expecting the unit generation cost would be a lot higher than coal-fired or gas-fired electricity. But that's something that we have to consider in slower time.
Thank you, Vivian. Any other comments from the audience on that one?
Chairman, can I supplement? Yeah.
Yes, please. We have.
Can I supplement first? From the utilities perspective, the used battery, of course, can be used as energy storage, and is actually very good in complement to the renewable energy, say wind energy, which are not sustainable in the sense that we need to store it. We cannot use it when it is on. Depends on the time that it is on. So for the utilities perspective, we have a team set up to explore something like the smart grid, whether we can make use of this used battery as well as the existing battery, this V2G, V2H, V2Home, whatever. So what Albert said is the utility has actions or has team in place to study this possibility. But then it is still in a planning stage. We are still exploring the possibility.
There are not yet very concrete plans yet, but we are studying it.
I have also a quick point to add. I think I also sit on the committee, the steering committee to promote electric vehicle in Hong Kong, and I think when the government is talking with the manufacturers about sourcing EVs in Hong Kong, we also talk to them about the treatment of the battery. Because for the scale that we have, we might not be able to make anything quite useful in the near term. So, yet the batteries will need recycling of some sort, and we get the support from the manufacturers. So, in the short term, at least we're not creating a land waste or wastage problem. But as the other speakers have said, we are conscious of that. So, both on the grid side and on the recycling part, I think we have been quite active on that.
I think we have one comment from the audience here.
Mr. Mark and Thomas kind of said everything I wanted to say earlier. I was just trying to respond to that about the availability of a 24 kilowatt battery after the life cycle of a vehicle, say between it's 8 years or 5 to 8 years, it still has about 80% capacity left. So Nissan is now established a partnership with another company, Sumitomo, to look into what we call the 4R business. So one area for new business for this recycle or batteries, we call them second life batteries, is for residential applications. So in Japan, as you know, you can put solar panels on your homes and basically store that energy during daytime and then use it overnight. So it's more in terms of reducing the load on the grid. And obviously the next phase is we're talking about smart grid, which goes into a whole new level of talking about vehicle back to grid and vehicle back to home. So that was all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has been a good discussion thus far. I understand that Ms. Sin-ling Chung is actually with us now. Is that the case?